In this lesson, we're going to learn about how to define and call methods. Methods essentially are reusable blocks of code that define some sort of behavior. Think of methods kind of like recipes that tell Unity how to perform specific tasks. When you use a monobehavior script, you get access to some predefined methods like start, update, onCollision enter, onTrigger enter, so on and so forth. You may recognize this list of methods as ones that we've already used in class. So to truly understand how a method works, we're going to create two different types. I'll start by removing our start and our update methods and just adding a simple onCollision enter. We'll come back and use this later. Underneath it, I'm going to create my own custom method that is going to calculate the score of an object and return back to me what the current score is. So I'll start out by creating an access modifier, which can either be public or private. In this case, I'm just going to use a private variable. The next is going to be the return type. So your return type can either be some sort of variable like an int, a string, but in this case, because I'm not expecting it to return any type of data, I'm just going to make it void. Most of our methods that we create in this class will be void methods. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a name. So I will name this increase score. And then directly after the name of my method, I'll put a set of parentheses. And then underneath the method will be a set of curly braces. So what we did here is simply just define or set up our method. Remember that I said that methods are like recipes. Recipes have instructions on how to create some sort of dish. So let's give our increase score method some instructions on how to make this work. Now let me not forget to actually create a variable called score. The first thing I'm going to do inside of my method is tell it to increase the score. And then once I've increased the score, I want it to now tell me what the new score is. Now, just because we define a method, that doesn't mean that it's going to happen automatically. When you want the script to actually perform this behavior, you have to call the method. You do this by writing the name of the method along with a set of parentheses after it. So here's a quick illustration of how this code works. So whenever it gets to the increase score method that has been called, it jumps ahead to that particular method, runs the instructions inside of it, and then once those instructions is done, it'll hop back to the next line of code in the script and run each line of code after that. Here's what that looks like when we actually do run the code. So right now the code itself is attached to my square, and I'm going to try to collide with this circle. Once I hit it, my score goes from 10 to 11, and anytime that I collide with it, it just keeps increasing in score. Now, there may be times where you're going to need to create a method that has some sort of parameters. When you do this, you're essentially telling the method, expect some specific type of information when I call you. This is done by defining a type and a variable inside of the parameters list, which is just the parentheses. So in this case, we have a say hello method that is going to print a debug.log that says hello and then the name of whatever name that we specify. We want it to return a string, which is going to be our name. So to call this particular method, we're going to start by doing the same thing we did before, say hello. And then instead of leaving our parentheses empty, we're going to put a string inside of these parentheses. That'll be a name. And I'm actually going to call this method 2 more times just to illustrate how the values can change. Now, when we run our script and those methods are called, we should get an output to our console that prints the word hello, the name that we specified inside of those parentheses, and the exclamation mark.